What's up, Clemson Tigers Nation? Today I want to talk to you a little bit about an article ESPN recently released where they're ranking the top 100 players in all of college football entering the 2021 season. Now, this is all players. This is not just draft eligible guys. It's everyone from across the board. And it's really interesting. It is free. It's not behind insiders, so you actually can go see for yourself. Go check it out. But I want to talk about how the Clemson players ranked on this list. Because there were a good number of them. There were 6 of them that actually made the list. There's one that nobody didn't that I want to talk about too. But first off, we got to start off with the guy who went on top. Bryan Bresee. Obviously a highly ranked recruit when we got him. Huge deal. He comes in at number 11. Number 11. So they're saying he's the number 11 best player in college football right now in the nation. Which I think is phenomenal because he was really good last year. We saw it with him, Myles Murphy, that duo, how great they worked up front. And again, they're only going to be sophomores, both those guys. So it's going to be incredible to see what they're doing going forward. I do think this is a little bit of a projection, though. I don't think that this is anything more than that because he was good last year, obviously. But he was not superstar level last year. Granted, there's not a lot of great interior defensive linemen in college football right now in general. But I don't think he was at the level of a number 11 player in the nation last year. They're definitely projecting for some growth here. But it makes a lot of sense, though, considering what we saw from him just as a true freshman. In a COVID-restricted, altered season, now he's gotten a full year in under his belt. More chemistry with the guys up front. We got Tyler Davis come back as well, so we're going to be healthier up front. I think he's headed for a big season. This is a guy who I think, based on this at least, we're talking about potentially being a top 5 to 10 pick in an NFL draft eventually. Now, granted, small sample sizes as his freshman, so we'll see how it all turns out. But right now, Bryan Bresee, number 11 player in the nation according to ESPN. And just for comparison, Texas A&M's DeMarvin Leal, who a lot of people are projecting to be a top 10 pick in the 2022 NFL draft, he's at number 15, 4 spots below Bryan Bresee. The next Clemson player on the list, Myles Murphy, comes in at number 25. I've already talked about him a little bit. Tremendous freshman last year, phenomenal player. He comes in at number 25. So two Clemson players in the top 25 so far. And in comparison, Oklahoma's Nick Bonito. I know there's a lot smaller players, more of an outside linebacker or a designated pass rusher as opposed to a true defensive end. But he's still a guy who people are looking at as potentially being draftable this coming year. Nick Bonito's 37. So a huge drop off there between the edge rushers and Myles Murphy and Nick Bonito. DJ Uiagalelei. Great start for him last year. Only 2 games I think he started. I think it was Notre Dame, and the next one was it Boston College maybe? I think those are 2 ones that DJ started. But he came out, played phenomenal, looked great. And of course, a lot of projection goes into this ranking here, but ESPN thinks he's going to be the 28th best player in the nation. Excuse me. So 28, 3 Clemson players in the top 30 so far. And in comparison, for DJ, Coastal Carolina's Grayson McCall is 31. That's the next closest quarterback on the list. He's also had guys like De'Aaron King, of course. And just to give you a hint of who's up there in terms of quarterbacks, Spencer Rattler's number 1 on the list. Sam Howell's number 5. So he's not in that range, obviously, because he's only played a couple of games. Keaton Slovis is number 12. I think they definitely value the quarterbacks quite a bit here. I think there's definitely some positional value in here because there's so many quarterbacks stacked towards the top of this article. Malik Willis at 16, Matt Corral at 18, Desmond Ridder at 20, Bryce Young at 21. So there's quite a few, JT Daniels at 24. So there's quite a few quarterbacks stacked ahead of DJ on this list. Certainly some controversial ones too, like JT Daniels, and of course someone who hasn't really seen the field much at all in Bryce Young. But we'll see how it plays out. DJ obviously still gets a fairly high ranking because he's in the top 30, despite only having a couple starts, a couple passes under his belt. But again, looked phenomenal last year. Against a good Notre Dame team too, by the way. They had a lot of draftable players and guys like Jeremiah Usu-Kormoa, Kyle Hamilton. They had so many good players last year, and he looked right at home against them. So we'll see how this plays out for DJ, but right now, respectable ranking at number 28 in the nation. Justin Ross, this guy I'm banking on coming back and being huge, but right now, they have him at 39, understandably so, because he's missed a lot of time. Obviously, this past year, he was out entirely because there was an issue, I think it was a congenital issue with his neck/spine. I think it was just his neck. But anyways, that required surgery. They weren't really sure if he was going to be able to play again. Everything looked clear. Everything looks good now. So he's going to come back and contribute for the Clemson Tigers in the 2021 season after missing all last year. People forget, while T. Higgins might have been the more NFL draftable player, Justin Ross was arguably more productive during his last full season in Clemson than T. Higgins was. So Ross is going to be a great player. I know there's some concerns about him being more of a throw-up to him kind of guy, a guy who just goes for contested catches. We'll see if he's able to develop his game this coming year. Right now at 39, in comparison, the next lowest guy next to him is Drake London, who's at 50. Another guy who's based heavily on projections and his physical attributes so far. I'm curious to see how hot Ross starts the year, if he's ready to go right away, or if he has to kind of ease his way into it. If it's the latter part, he might stick around for another year at Clemson potentially because, again, ultimately the idea is to get the draft stock up here to the point where he's back to being a borderline first-round pick like he was after 2 seasons at Clemson. We'll see how it plays out. Wishing him all the best because he's one of my favorite Clemson players to watch, and it's going to be great to see him back on the field. So yeah, Justin Ross at number 39. Tyler Davis, defensive tackle at 57. Now, he's a junior. Probably going to go to the draft after this year. I know he missed a bunch of games last season. Coming back now, hopefully going to be healthy, so we're going to have him on the defensive line, along with all these other players, Myles Murphy, Bryan Bresee, we already talked about. And Davis is a bit of an underrated defensive tackle. If you look at his stats, what he did for Clemson during his first 2 years for the team, or specifically during his first year with the team, and then the first half of his second season, you're looking at a player who is totally draftable in terms of being maybe a day 2 pick. I don't think he'll be day 1 kind of guy. He's not that kind of freak athletically, or in terms of production as well. He's not going to be like a Dexter Lawrence type player or a Christian Wilkins, but he's still going to be a solid, maybe a 3rd round pick, I think, in the NFL draft, should he choose to go out in 2022. And comparatively, there are a bunch of guys out there. I know people like Jordan Davis at Georgia quite a bit, but Jordan Davis is at 87 on this list. 30 spots behind Tyler Davis at 57. And if I had to pick, I would take Tyler Davis. I really would. I think Tyler Davis is better than Jordan Davis. And I know some people will say it's the other way around. Haskell Garrett, by the way, another player you might want to compare, you might want to throw into this grouping. Haskell Garrett was at, let me find him real quick, he was at number 30. So Haskell Garrett, 27 spots ahead of Tyler Davis, who was 30 spots ahead of Jordan Davis. So that's kind of how it stacks up. Again, the interior defensive line group in college football right now, it's very strange. There's not a ton of star talent that's considered draftable right now because guys like Garrett, both Davises, I believe, are eligible for the 2022 NFL draft. But even those guys, none of those guys are looking like day 1 picks right now. So it's a little bit hard to rank them. It's a little bit hard to describe them to you guys, but they're very good at college players. We just don't know how they're going to perform at the NFL level. But you know those 3, I think Tyler Davis has a chance to be the best one there just because of his versatility. We've seen him get to the quarterback in the past. So hopefully he has a big year, and hopefully he raises his draft stock. But I think he's in for a good year considering his supporting cast at Clemson. And the last one you have to talk about is Xavier Thomas at 58. So 1 spot behind Jordan Davis. And for comparison, like I said, Xavier Thomas, 58. George Karlaftis from Purdue, he's at 71. Now, I'm generally very supportive of all these Clemson rankings. This is the one I have a question about, though. Because Xavier Thomas obviously missed time last year, had a good freshman year. He's never really developed into the guy, though. I mean, he's going to be seeing a lot of snaps this year, but is he going to be a designated quote-unquote starter week in and week out? I really don't know. Based on the players they have there, with Justin Foster also on the roster. We'll see how it plays out. Xavier Thomas to me is a very athletic, gifted player. He was obviously a highly ranked recruit coming out of high school, one of the best recruits in the nation at the time, and it was a huge get for Clemson. Everyone was talking about him being the next star defensive line for Clemson. It really hasn't been that. He's kind of been skipped over, and it's gone to Bryan Bresee and Myles Murphy after that whole Dexter Lawrence, Cleveland Ferrell, Christian Wilkins group. Now, could Xavier Thomas go out there and have like a 10-sack season, turn things around, and be a borderline first-round pick? Absolutely. But right now, I think Karlaftis is actually the better player. Again, Karlaftis is at 71, while Xavier Thomas is at 58. Karlaftis also missed time last year, just like Xavier Thomas, but I think he's got a more complete resume to the point right now where he's been productive to levels that Thomas just hasn't reached yet. So we'll see how it plays out. But Xavier Thomas, again, a guy who has a ton of potential athletically, and he could really turn to, he could be the one to complete this defensive line. If he plays great, Clemson's defensive line will be unstoppable. But he just hasn't done it consistently yet, so I'm not going to go out and say he deserves to be a top 60 player in the college football right now like ESPN is claiming. But again, if he gets to that point, if he makes that jump, he'll get there. But for right now, I have trouble buying into it because of all the injuries he suffered and all the time off he's missed and all the inconsistencies he's shown so far in his college career. And this is going to be his senior year. The player who was not on the list I really want to talk about was Andrew Booth. Now, Andrew Booth has only played, about 400 snaps for Clemson defensively, so he's not played a ton of snaps. but people love him. There are a ton of guys in the draft community who think he's going to be at least a second-round pick. There are people in the draft community like Joe Marino for the Draft Network who have him going like in the top 10, top 12 of next year's draft. They love him. So not having Andrew Booth on the top 100 to me is just questionable. If you have Xavier Thomas at 58 and you don't have Andrew Booth on the thing at all, that raises some questions. So to me, that's a bit absurd not having him on at all. Two other former Clemson players not listed in the top 100 either, by the way. Mike Jones Jr., great coverage linebacker who's transferred to LSU. They're probably going to play him in that Jabril Cox role down there in LSU because, again, he's a great coverage linebacker. So he's transferring out of Clemson. Darion Kendrick, who was kind of basically dismissed from the program, has signed up with Georgia. He was not on the list either, even though he's considered a borderline first-round pick this past year. Probably would have been a second-round pick or maybe a top of the third-rounder. But none of those guys, along with Andrew Booth, were on the list. A little bit crazy, especially with the Booth pick again, because I think there's no way that Andrew Booth Jr. should not be on this top 100 list because you have so many slots. I mean, I just don't see how you can not make room for Andrew Booth Jr. when you have guys. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like Trent McDuffie's 92. I actually like Trent McDuffie quite a bit. Majay Sanders is only at 93. Again, another one I think should be higher. But when you have guys like that towards the bottom, and you got like Johnny Johnson III from Oregon, Isaiah Thomas from Oklahoma, Osiris, I'm trying to read number 100 right now. Osiris Torrance, I guess is how you say his last name, from Louisiana at 100, and you don't have Andrew Booth Jr. over those guys. It's kind of pushing it a little bit. So Andrew Booth Jr. definitely snubbed here on this list, but otherwise, I feel pretty confident about the group of guys we're putting out there on the top 100. And yeah, I just want to discuss that with you guys. So leave a comment. Tell me if there's anyone else they missed out on putting on the list. Who was underrated? Who was overrated? What would you change? And again, you can go check this article out for free on ESPN.com. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all later.